Okay. Yeah. I just started the video. It's rolling.
Are you going to edit this part out?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, and go.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Dakota 308. Haven't made very many videos, but I'm going to start making little how-to videos throughout the time period. And one thing I'm going to do is hanging a ceiling fan in your home. My wife and I, our family, we moved into this home and we decided we're going to install a ceiling fan. This is a ceiling fan. This is a very simple ceiling fan that we bought from Walmart. And I believe the light, the fan and all was like $48. So we're going to do a little unboxing here. Okay, and what you have is you'll have a this looks like warranty papers, possibly the instructions. I've never hung a ceiling fan before, but they say it's fairly easy, so I believe this is the instructions on how to do so. You have the blades, and on this particular model, we bought the one side of the blades are a light color, and the other sides are a much darker color. So depending on which one my wife wants is which side that we'll have facing down to the people that view it. This is going to be the base mount. This should mount to the ceiling and then have the stem coming down for the light and fan. This will be the lighting part with the bulbs and the pull string. One interesting thing I picked up that doesn't come with it is these pull strings here. One has the light on it and the other one has the fan on it. And I think these are really cute, and you also have the ability to tell which one's which before you pull the string. If any of you have seen the old ceiling fans, you never knew which one was which till you pulled it. So hopefully that'll stop that from happening. These are the brackets that hold the fan blades on. That's all that's in here. I'll unwrap one of them to show you. This will mount to the centerpiece, and this is where the blade would mount on here. This model also came with two LED lights. They're 60-watt equivalents. Like I said, there's two of those. They weren't very easy to get out of the styrofoam, so I'm going to try to knock it out of the rod. Or break the styrofoam and then pull it out. And this piece is fairly heavy. This is the piece that will have the light on it and the fan blades that will go around. The electric motor inside here. So it's a little heavy, but nothing that you couldn't lift up. And this is the light cover that we go on to make it look a little softer also. This, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I believe it's probably going to go on the extender that goes on here and then mounts to the electric motor piece. This is just some foam pads and like a plastic bushing. I'm not going to open that up right now. I'll open it later and we can take a look at that, because I'm going to need to reorganize things before I start opening the little pieces. And this packet here has some little screws and a pull chain, a couple washers, a little bushing. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be either. And I believe that's it. I'm going to go ahead and pull the bottom foam out. Sometimes, if you've ever done this type of assembly before, sometimes you'll pull out and there'll be something in the bottom of the styrofoam. This fell out. It's just the moisture the moisture proofing in the package. So this time I'm going to go ahead, we're going to shut off the camera, and you'll join us back here in just a few minutes. Okay, back here after the unboxing, and the first step that you want to do, according to the instructions, is to take some safety measures and cut off the breaker that goes to the appropriate part of your home that would power the fan and light fixture. We've already done that, so we're going to move up to step 2. I'm going to take a break right now so that you have a chance to do this. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and pause this video and come back. Okay, one thing that you might not have done yet is taken your old lighting fixture out. I'm going to take mine out now. Mine, I don't know what you have, but mine will take a flat blade screwdriver, a small one, and it looks like there's these 2 screws here, and I should be able to take the entire housing out with just those 2 screws, and to see what's behind it, and probably have a mounting bracket of some sort. Okay, with that removed, this is the bracket that we would use for the new one. Some of them are a little different and boxy, which is most average, and I'm really not sure if this new fan will fit on this due to it not being the boxy type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so after looking at the lighting fixture that's here, the base, the mounting fixture that's here, as I've noticed that on this, earlier I told you that we would remove this screw and loosen this one. On this side we would remove this one and loosen this one. When you do, you can spin this out. And this is the exact same mounting bracket that I have up there. If you would pull up there and look at that. What I'm going to do is take that one down and replace it with this brand new one. So you can go ahead and watch this. I'm going to place the 2 screws that I removed in my pocket. If you wanted to, you can use the same mounting bolts. I'm going to see if there's new ones in my pack because I would rather use the equipment that came with it than use new. And I apologize. I said that I would rather use the equipment that came with it than use new. I mean, I would rather use the new equipment that came with it than use the old equipment. So let me check the hardware here. So you have your wire nuts, those small metallic screws, some washers. the plastic bushing, an individual screw will separate that. Then the pull strings, which was probably not what we're going to use, having these pull strings here. And this is the chain for that. It looks like that's really all the hardware they gave. We'll see if it says in the directions which way. So this, in the directions, it says to use the screws and hardware that comes in the mounting box that's not included, which would be the mounting bracket that's already there. So I am going to reuse the screws from the old bracket. I actually could have used the old bracket itself. Okay, so after further inspection on my box, what I actually have is an older style, but it's got a really solid mount up there, so I didn't want to take it out. And what it has is this bracket goes in and this nut tightens up the body around it. But in order to put the base of your ceiling fan on, you have to mount it on the electric outlet first and then spin the nut second. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws that I put in my pocket earlier and attach this mount to the metal strip before I place it back inside. As you can see, we finally got our mounting bracket on. And it was not easy. I'm going to tell you, it was not easy. Step 3 is you remove these blocks from where the fan blades go. Retain the screws. We'll use them for the mounting of the blades, but you may throw these blocks away. These blocks are just to protect it in shipping. Now with all the blocks removed and the screws retained, we'll move on to step 4. Okay, for these particular directions, step 4 is if you're going to mount it directly to the ceiling. We're going to use the down rod to drop the fan a few inches. Step 5 says that you pull the pin, set it aside. And in my advice, I'd put the clip back in the pin so that you don't lose it. And then it says that on the yoke, which is this piece here, you are to loosen but do not remove these 2 adjustment screws. With with the pin removed and the yoke screws loosened, we'll move on to step 6. Okay, for step 6, it says that we should take the wires and insert them through the canopy and insert the wires through the down rod. And when doing this, you're going to need to put the canopy on first and then put the down rod on.
You also have 3 wires. You have a black, a white, and a blue. In my down rod, there's a cross pin. And I don't know if the camera operator can do this. So what I have to do is I have to try to fish these wires, which is not easy because they're bent and you got some loose stuff. Because they're frayed wires. You have to fish them around that. So it's going to take me just a second. Yeah. Whenever I do anything to bite the sound, I have to make videos of and stuff like that. Alright, you want me to help you? You don't have to do the camera, man. Taylor can help with her fingers and you can help with the camera. Alright, man. You don't know if these videos might help somebody. Alright. By the way, if it takes you a minute to do them, you don't have to tell the audience because I can just fast forward that bit. Sure.
Okay. Now that I have the wires through, the down rod, and I have the canopy on, I'm now going to move on to step 7. So the step 7 states that once we put the down rod on, we reinstall the pin, reinstall the clip, and reset these screws. Now, you might need to come in a little close and look at how this pin goes through. It's kind of tight, but if you don't get the screws set first, you have to loosen them up a little more just to get them in there. Okay, so step 8 is we're just going to do exactly what we did off the other ceiling fan in reverse. We're going to set this, I guess I would say it's half of a ball looking item, half a sphere, into this circle outlet and let it set holding the weight. And that's the end of step 8. Okay, step 9, and I'm not an electrician by any means, but the good thing is in this instructions they have a diagram, and they're showing you that the black wire is the hot wire, the white wire is neutral, and then the bare or the green wire is the ground wire. And basically, it's not as hard as you think. You connect black to black, white to white, green to green, or bare to bare. However, the only thing that's different is the blue wire. Now the blue wire is the hot wire for the light fixture. You can run this with or without a lighting fixture. You can put a cap over the end of it, which is what we had on the one that we removed. The blue wire is the hot wire for the light. So if you don't install a light, you don't need to connect the blue wire. We are installing the light. That's the whole reason we're pulling this in. So we are going to connect the blue wire. You also want to make sure that you have wire nuts, and I like to use electrical tape to put around the wire nuts anytime I run electric. Again, I'm not an electrician by any means, and if you know an electrician who, or you are an electrician and you are a professional, you can do it however you like. My advice to anyone who's not is to use electrical tape. After you put the wire nuts on, you use electrical tape to wind it up, and you'll see me do that in just a moment. Okay, so in this one, it did say that the bare or the green was your ground, and the white is ground. So all I'm doing here is I'm taking the two wires and I'm twisting them together. and then the white to white. With house wiring, it's not easy. Now I went and got my electric wire pliers. I don't know if I'm going to need them, but the one thing I do like about them is they do have a wire stripping mechanism here. So if I do need more wire, I'm able to strip it off with this. So one thing I like to do when dealing with electric wires is if I have to strip them, again, I'm not an electrician by any means, I usually try several of the sizes before I get down to the one that is actually for the wire, because you're better to be wrong about the wire you're stripping several times than to undersize it and cut half your wire. And if you do strip your wire like I just did, again, I twist it to make it a nice piece, and then it's much easier to wrap around. Now I'm going to go ahead and cap this wire. And to cap it, all you need is this wire nut. It's threaded, so when you put it on, just push it on the wire and undo what I just did. Whenever you put this wire on, you're best to thread it with the way the nut's going, so it doesn't undo the wire as you put the nut on. Again, I'm not an electrician. Just a few things that I've found out over time that work for me. So now when I put this on right-handedly, it doesn't unwind the wire, it kind of winds it together better. Okay. Tug it to make sure it's good. I had to switch wire nuts. The ones that came in the pack were small, and I'm sure that they are going to be perfect for like the ground wire where the two wires are both frayed. However, it was too small to work on the housing wires, which is a solid wire. So I needed to go larger to put those two together. Now if you have the two frayed like this was, it's going to be simple to put together, but when you're connecting the frayed and the solid wire, I needed more. I needed a larger nut, so that's something you might need to And what I did with these two wires, I twisted them together before I put them around this one. And then I just, again, you want to make sure you're going the same way so that screwing this nut on doesn't undo the wires, and it did a really good job. Okay, and so what I've done with the other ones is exactly what I'm doing here. I can keep them with the twisting right to keep the electric nut tight. I wrap about halfway up the nut, and I'm probably not going to be able to get in here like I like to because this one's shorter, but I wrap the nut around. And I don't know what type of mess I've got going on here. I'm going to have to redo this one. I need my pocket knife, please. Action.
Yep.
I'm doing, what I'm doing here is I put this about halfway up the nut. And again, I'm not an electrician, so don't take this as the right way to do it. And when you edit this, please put I'm not an electrician in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I go with the tightening, with the way that the screw would go if it were tightening with my electrical wire, so it doesn't go against that, and it's always keeping a righty-tighty type of pull. And that completes step number 9. Okay, so step 10, I'm supposed to push these wires back up in here, back up into the outlet box, is what it says. If I can fit up in here, if you can see this, it is a pretty tight fit for what I have going on here, but I'll try to fit them in there the best I can. What I can't fit in there, I'm going to have to leave out. Also, for this next step, is you're going to reapply this housing. And you have like remember the 2 bolt screws that we were placing on there earlier, and loosening but leaving on there. Well, this is where they come to play. Now once you put those in place, twist that, you tighten them down and put the other 2 screws in. I believe I have those 2 screws in my pocket. I have 1 screw in my pocket. I do have the other one in there as well. So if you do this mount and you don't get it up fast a fucking ladder, if you do this mount and you don't get it exactly right, that's okay. These are made to have a swivel point in them, as you saw when we installed it. The next step, step 11. Now my wife and I have discussed it, and she would like to show the darker blades, so it will be dark blades down. And in this step you are going to attach these brackets to the blades, and now the bracket extends so that it extends through the blade to where it's almost coming through on the other end. You place a washer and one of the fan blade screws on. Okay, I'm going to do this to the other 4 blades remaining, and we'll get back to you. Now that the fan blade brackets are attached to the fan blades, we're not going to use the bolts that we removed earlier to mount the blade back on to the motor. These take 2 Phillips head screws, and again, like I said, for this particular model, they're the ones that we took off of this earlier, and I'll get back with you when I attach all 5 of these. Okay, now since we've installed the fan, we're ready to move to the light. I beg your pardon, because it is 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm starting to wear down a little bit. But this is fairly simple. You have 3 screws here to loosen, to adjust it, and then you have these 2 wires that have these quick disconnects and connects in them that go with this. In the instructions it says white to white, blue to black. Remember we did the blue to black up here earlier to separate which line went where. The directions also call for, if you wanted to go with a lightless fixture, you would remove this screw here. This comes out, and then you're just left with the cap, and then you put a plug in it, one of the plugs that came in the directions like we talked about earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install this now. Finally, it says to remove the final cap, and get ready to put the bulbs in the shade on. Now get this nut off. You want to keep this rubber gasket with it to place it between the nut and the shade. And I will return. Okay, so we've finished everything. We got the power turned on. We checked the light. It does work. We've turned it switch back off. And now when you place this bowl on here, the shade, whatever you want to call it, you have one hole for the chain for the light. And then the one on the side is the chain for the fan. And this, I'm not so sure I agree with this design, because you are going to put pressure on this every time you pull the fan string. And this is kind of a pain, because this nut goes on this side. Instead of using just the final, once you use this nut, to me seems like it's a little much for a lampshade. And this is just a lampshade, so you don't have to get it ridiculous tight. Now on this final, you also have a hole that you can put, so for the fan chain, and then the actual final itself, you have the hole for the light chain. Now, camera operator, continue to watch the light. As I flip the switch, I do have light. This concludes the installation of the ceiling fan. I'm now going to attach the final pieces to the chain, which are kind of high up there, so I'm probably going to need a ladder for this. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge a couple people who were inspiration for me to do this. And if you would, please go to their pages and check them out. One is Nuttin' Fancy. The second is Hickok 45. And the third is Law Abiding Biker. And through those three channels, I really have learned a lot about the ability to, repair my motorcycle, a lot about different firearms. And another guy I would like to give a shout out to is NewTek. NewTek has really done a few things for me. I'm illiterate when it comes to technology, and he's really walked me through step by step a lot of videos and how to do some entertainment items that I really appreciate. So if you get a chance, please step over there and look at what they have on their channels. And hope you like this video. I'm sure there'll be more to come about many different topics. Thank you. That's all in here?
It sounds like it.
Ah! Ah, mother. Fucking forgot. That's why I had you to stop. Because you can't help the. Are you to turn that damn thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that was blue. I don't know, but it freaked me out a bit.
Now, step 3 says we should not do that. Are you fucking recording? Turn that fucking camera off. What the hell? How about The Rock?
Yeah.
Well, he's in the Fast and Furious. He's in the Jumanji. He's just doing everything, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Everybody's got to make a dollar somehow.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't think they should have him imitate people anymore. He didn't do too good with Danny DeVito there.
I don't think he did a good Danny DeVito.
No, he did not.
But you know who did do a good
Danny
part
Glover.
was Danny. Look,
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart was fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion,
He was the best part.
he was probably the best one.
Yeah.
Jack Black did a great job too. He did 2 people. He did them perfect.
He did flawlessly.
And Kevin Hart did 2 people flawlessly.
Yeah, I heard the behind the scenes bit. They were talking about how Jack Black has done like 3 different people, and he does them all so well, and that when they first expected him to do the impressions of the other people, he didn't think they would go very well. Like when he did the girl, he thought he was gonna make her too Valley girl, and
It was perfect.
Yeah, and it was perfect. And he thought that he would be a little too I don't know, ghetto for the black guy.
What black guy?
Well, he was the big black football guy.
Oh,
Yeah. And they thought he was going to be a little too ghetto when they played him, and they were afraid to hear him talk. I don't know, he was supposed to do an impression of a black guy. I guess they thought he was going to be a little...
Well, hit it too hard, huh?
Yeah, hit it too hard. And then he would offend some people. But they said he did flawlessly.
Yeah, he did a really good job. And,
Yeah.
you know, he didn't, well, the guy he's impersonating isn't really a ghetto type of dude.
No.
He's more like a suburbanite.
Yeah.